to day 3 of the 12 days of page turners. And as promised, I have 4 more amazing authors and holiday promotions coming up for you. But that is enough for me. Let's get hearing from these authors. So first up is Mac Little. Come on down, Mac Little. How are you?
Doing?
I am doing good. I'm doing good.
I'm really excited to be here.
Well, tell everybody what genre you write in and the title of some of your books.
Okay, I write historical fiction. Sometimes I like to think it's historical romance, but people tend to take it a little bit more serious than that. And right now I'm working on a series. It's my Love and Peace series. And the first book in the series is Daughter of Hades. It's won a lot of awards. And recently I've published a novella, a follow-up, kind of like a spin-off to Love and Peace series, and it's called Shelter in a Hostile World. And I'm really excited to talk about it here.
I love it. I own Daughter of Hades, and it is the most beautiful cover that I have ever seen. Like when it sits on my bookcase, but you guys can't see, like it's over here. I can't have it like where I just see this line. I'm like, no, we have to see this cover. And so I have it like all displayed. I'm a huge groupie. Okay, Mac, I'm a big groupie of yours. But I'm dying to know, how did the concept behind like your historical fiction, Daughter of Hades, the series kind of come about? What was the inspiration that made you kind of want to write and research and go down that rabbit hole?
Well, a lot of times when I was reading anything historical about the Caribbean or the States in the 17th, 18th century, you have marginalized characters that are never fully developed. And I wanted to write something fun and adventurous and romantic with people that are generally marginalized in stories, especially from that period. So we have a romance in Daughter of Hades between an escaped slave girl named Denny, and she falls in love with a pirate who was born in China, and he was exiled, and he ended up in the Caribbean. So those are, two demographics that you rarely go in depth as far as character for. So I wanted to highlight them and their stories and how they came to be together.
So what was the research like for you? I can believe it was pretty labor intensive, and it took, several hours to research and make sure that the facts and everything were right. So what was the process like for doing that and kind of keeping everything on track?
Yeah, the research is constant. First, when I develop my characters, sometimes I'll read a story and I'll say, oh, that's interesting. So I kind of mull it over and see how I can make it squeeze the character from it. So when I was writing about Daughter of Hades, there was a maroon rebellion on Jamaica, and it was led by this Obeah woman, or sometimes called a witch. And usually the Obeah people were the leaders of these insurrections. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I can make her a character, or base a character off of her. And so then I would have to go back and research, where did she come from? Where did this population come from? How did they become maroons? And then it just kind of spreads out from there. And in Shelter in a Hostile World, Badu is the main character, and he was a minor character in Daughter of Hades, but I had written such an extensive character sheet on him. I felt like he deserved his own story. And so I based him on a couple of people. One was a guy named Busha. He led a revolt on Barbados, and the other character is Black Caesar. He was on a slave ship. He befriended one of the white sailors, and together they led a insurrection on the the slave ship and took over, and they went off together pirating and looting people on the high seas. So I thought that was, those two stories were pretty interesting. So I kind of melded them together and created Badu. And also there were a lot of Irish indentured servants in Barbados on the plantations before they started extensively drawing from Africa for their labor. And a lot of times the Irish and the Black slaves came together and revolted, or caused the slave owners problems. And so from that stemmed laws that would separate them. But before that happened, they were intermarrying. So Badu falls in love with an Irish woman, and they find the bond in pain, and together they find redemption and healing. And that's how that's the answer. I kind of create the character, and then I try to figure out what the world is around them. And then as I write, I have to research the minutia. What kind of chairs did they sit in? What did they eat? What was the landscape like? And so it's constant from beginning.
Yeah. See, I always thought about, in a past life for me, I always felt like I would come back and be a pirate, and I don't know why, but I feel like I would be like so good at that. Like if I'm not doing the zombie apocalypse battle, which I feel like for some reason I would be so great at, I would be like this badass pirate, like captain, and just go and do all these things. I don't know why, but I feel like that would be me.
Well, I fall on the side of the pirates. I sympathize with them greatly. They were battling against the unfair economic system, and this is basically was the only way to combat it. And they were needed by the people in the colonies because of the restrictive trade laws. They couldn't get all the goods that they needed and wanted, so they relied on pirates to smuggle those items in, and so they were a necessary part of the economic system in the colonies. And they were a response to economic tyranny. And yeah, they killed a lot of people. They stole a lot of stuff, but most of the time they didn't have to fire a shot. People would see the pirate flag and go, "Oh, we give up," and they just hand their stuff over. And so I fall on the side of the pirates. And plus, they also offer opportunity for escaped slaves to find freedom. You would find pirate ships that had a pretty large population of Black sailors, but they also looted slave ships and stole the slaves and sold them too. They're all over the spectrum. But the pirates I write about are good pirates.
See, I love that. Speaking of pirates, my little pirate, right, just came in because she's nosy. But I'm curious to know, when it comes to your research, what was one of the most fascinating things that you've learned while doing your research and writing the series?
There are a couple of things. The thing that got me started were the Maroons in Jamaica. That Maroons are escaped slaves, and when the British invaded Jamaica, the Spanish kind of stalled the generals, and while they stalled them, the owners released all of the enslaved people into the hills, and then the owners fled the island. So when the British took over Jamaica, they had nothing to start with. They had no labor, they had no cattle, they had no food. They had to start from scratch. So the Spanish colonists really slowed them down in that way. And there was a lot of deaths from disease and starvation during that period. And the Maroons were conducting guerrilla attacks on the English settlements and against the English army that was there. and they struck fear into the English, and they never, the English were never able to defeat the Maroons. So they ended up having to make a treaty with them, and those treaties, the aftermath of those treaties are still in place today. The Maroons are basically an independent nation within Jamaica. So I thought that was interesting. And also, what a coincidence, during this period, like in 1644, the Ming Dynasty fell. So my main character in Daughter of Hades is, okay, so, all right, let me slow down because it gets me really excited. Well, what I learned was that during this period, China traded with Mexico, and the silver that was mined in Mexico was partially a base for the Chinese and Japanese economies, and so there was a link there, and there was a way for me to get leave from China to Mexico and then to the Caribbean. So seeing how involved basically China was in the Caribbean or Caribbean tangent areas, I found that surprising. And the population in the Asian population in the Caribbean has been widely overlooked. And I thought this was a good opportunity to showcase at least one character, and hopefully in future books I'll be able to add more characters, more Asian characters, that include his family and whatnot to the books.
I love how excited that you got to talk about it. And you had to tell yourself, I have to slow down. I have to slow down because you just absolutely love it. And it comes across in your writing. So I've read Daughter of Hades and I absolutely loved it. And I feel like your passion and just the love that you kind of developed in the research really comes out in your book. So I'm curious to know how many books are going to be in this series for you.
I could write this. It's an infinite number of books because I do extensive character sheets on all of my characters, so they all have a story. And I could write 1 million books in this in this series. But we'll see.
I love it. It's like you found your happy space, writing in this genre and telling these character stories.
It's kind of my happy space and my space of torture. It's like when I approach a scene, I'm like, oh God, now I got to research, 1600s in Africa and the Arken, population, and there's no research. There's very little research for me to draw on, and I have to extrapolate or interpolate a lot of information and add it. So I dread it, but I love it at the same time.
It's a love-hate relationship. I understand those. That's why I always make the joke, my love has limits. Okay, it has limits. That's very firm on what my limits are. But this, on the 12 Days of Patienters, we're all about holiday promotions and holiday goodies this holiday season. So tell everybody what you're offering this holiday season.
Well, we're going to have promotions, and if you just check out my Facebook page, you'll be able to participate in some giveaways. I'm giving away bundles with Daughter of Hades, Shelter in a Hostile World, and some, what do you call it, swag. Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. I would take advantage of that for sure. So I'm going to go check out your Facebook page. But Mac, thanks for taking time out of your evening to come and hang out with us. It's always so much fun.
My pleasure. I love talking about my stories.
Oh, I love them. They are beautifully written. Well, coming up next is Bob Brill. Bob, how are you this evening?
I am outstanding. Now that I'm here with you, I'm just even better. It's long awaited.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, Bob, tell everybody what genre you write in and the title of some of your books.
Well, genre is doesn't apply except the one I don't write, and that's horror. Because I write in
Okay.
every genre. I write fiction, nonfiction. I have a Western series, Lancer Hero of the West. My first book, which I'm doing a lot with this holiday season, because it's just been optioned as the screenplay of the book has just been optioned, and hopefully within a year we'll see that on the little screen probably. And that is the basic true story of a major league or a burlesque queen who in the 1950s who married a Major League Baseball player. It's called Fan Letters to a Stripper, Patty Wagentail. And then my most recent book, which is probably the best book I've ever written, is called The Tattoo Murder. And it is a fictional story about a surfing cop in Ventura, California, and it's a crime novel. But I also have some other books, one of my memoirs, which is about baseball growing up. But the two things I think are probably pushing most are The Tattoo Murder and Fan Letters to a Stripper.
I love that. Well, congratulations on your screenplay
Thank you.
getting picked up. That's so exciting. It's like every author's dream. So
Yeah.
congratulations.
It's been this one has been a dream since I was 6 years old. That's when this whole story started.
Wow. Since you were 6 years old. So is it fair to say that you've been writing pretty much all of your life? It's just been a part of who you are.
Yeah, it always has been. I started growing up telling jokes, writing jokes for family members, and they thought I was a cute little kid, so they laughed. So that worked, and it made me, it encouraged me more. And then when I got into junior high, I started seriously writing. I wrote in elementary school a little bit too, but seriously started writing in junior high. And my broadcast career started 52 years ago, and I, wrote for some newspapers and stuff in the meantime, and stuff like that, and really started book writing about 2009 with my first book, and I've written 12 since.
Wow, 12 books. And so you've written in multiple genres except horror. You won't touch horror.
Amy, I've tried. The problem is it keeps coming out like Twilight Zone.
Oh, hey, I'm a huge fan of Twilight Zone. Though,
I am too, and maybe that's why it does that.
I love it. I love that you dabble in different arenas, right? I mean, I think that stretches you as an author to dabble in different ones and to experiment and play around. Like you've tried in horror, and they keep coming out like the Twilight Zone, right?
Yeah.
I think that those are fascinating. You never know where another new love for a genre will kind of pop up and do, right? Like I love psychological thrillers, and I always have to give a disclaimer. I'm not crazy, to that extent. I feel like we're all a little bit crazy. It helps me release those things. I have a 4 and a 3-year-old, so reading those books just is de-stressing for my day in a weird way.
That's kind of where The Tattoo Murder fits in. You can call that a psychological thriller. And the sequel, a belt buckle murder, will be similar vein, but some other twists and turns.
Yeah, because that's what I was kind of getting to. That one sounds, I know it's like a crime fiction, but it sounds more like a psychological thriller. So tell everybody, including me, because I'm dying to know kind of what the summary or the plot is of that book.
Oh, that particular book, Tattoo Murder, is about a surfing cop in Ventura, California, who basically what happens in the first scene is a body washes up on shore, a bloated body. Ventura is a seaside community. Some people call it a poor man's Santa Barbara. I lived there twice in my life, and it's a beautiful place, and it's a community. It really is. And John Potenza is an Italian American who is an Army Ranger who has some history there, and he's a really good looking guy. He's a really good guy. Has a lot of women. Has his main squeeze who understands his life, and he also is a very community-oriented, family-oriented guy. But he is the cop that every man wants to be and that every woman wants. So he's sort of like a local James Bond, if I could tie that into it, as far as when it comes to his ladies. When I first wrote the book 12 years ago, I made the mistake of giving it to my daughter to read, who said, I can't read, this is too racy. My dad wrote this. I gave it to my sister to read. She said basically the same thing. So I put it on the shelf, but there was a very dear female psychiatrist, a friend of mine, who loved it and who kept telling me, Bob, you got to get this book out there. You got to get a book out there. And I showed it to a few other people. So what I did was I toned it down. I toned down the sex, and the raciness. And that worked. plus the other two things about it, it's written sort of like a movie script, because every scene, not every chapter, but every scene is headlined with the date, time, place, and just basically those things let you know where you are. It could be every couple of pages, could be every page at some point. And then there's 10 pictures in the middle of real places where the fictional crimes took place. So you can actually go to Ventura and check out the pictures because they're real places. And when you read the book, you'll understand what that's all about. So it's basically his idea is he has to solve this murder of a biker, at the same time keep two warring motorcycle gangs from going to mattress, so to speak, going to mat. And the thing about it is, with John Potenza, he's, like I said, he's an Italian American. Well, every Sunday's with mom and dad and his sister, and there's always leftover food. He knows his way around a kitchen. And the cops on Monday morning in the squad room, they love it because he's bringing in fresh vine-ripened tomatoes. He's bringing leftover spaghetti. He's bringing, So I'm a foodie. John's a foodie. And Potenza, which is the Italian word for strong or power, is my paternal grandparents' hometown in central Italy. And so that's where Potenza came from. But it's a lot of twists and turns, a lot of characters, and surprise ending, which I like. So
I love it. Well, you mentioned James Bond. I'm a huge James Bond fan.
mm-hmm.
That and then Die Hard, right? I feel like those are Christmas movies. Die Hard's a Christmas movie.
Die Hard's the best Christmas movie ever. It's also the best action film ever. So
exactly. So which James Bond would you say that your character is the most alike? Since you kind of compared him a little bit to James Bond, which one would he be? Or which one's your
definitely
favorite?
Sean Connery. I mean, I'm not a Sean Connery fan as far as, because I always liked Roger Moore.
That's a good one.
But because I like the humorous twist, and there's some humor in this book. But Sean Connery, I would have to say, because the coolness and John Potenza is under a lot of pressure from a lot of things. So surfing at night is not something you ever want to do, but he's mastered it, and that's where he relaxes. That's where he thinks. That's where he gets it. That, and the fact that he loves John Fogerty and Creedence Clearwater, and there's throughout the book there's references to lyrics of John Fogerty songs.
Nice. I love that.
He drives
Sean
a fast
Connery
car.
was my favorite. See, Sean Connery and Roger Moore are my favorite.
Oh, I love
hands
Roger Moore.
down. Those are my favorite. I feel like they were just like, they had the most like swag when it came to like women and confidence. I was like, oh, I could watch you all day.
I love Moonraker, where you had dun 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 dun, the theme from you had the Marlboro Man, but it was the theme from the Magnificent Seven, which is one of my favorite films.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I love it. You had me at James Bond. Like, I was like, all right, I'm in. I'm invested.
Good. Here's the book. You can't see it. Don't worry. I'll let you put it in.
Oh, I love it. I love it. But I want to kind of switch gears a little bit and talk about the one that you have the screenplay written for that's hopefully going to come out. So you said that you wrote this book or had the idea to write it when you were 6 years old. So tell us how this kind of evolved into what it is and what it's going to be.
My 6th birthday, and I will tell you, I will date myself, 1959. And my mom got me out of the house so my sister could throw a surprise party. And she told me my birthday was tomorrow instead of today. Yeah. Little lie from mom. It's okay.
I love it.
She'd be 105 this month. So if she were still alive. Anyway, so what I wanted was some baseball cards. So later that night, I'm opening these packs of baseball cards, Topps cards, 1959. And on the back of the cards, there was a cartoon in 59. And the cartoon was of a woman dancing on a table, kicking up her leg, and a ball player leaning in on the table, looking up her skirt. I'm 6 years old, okay? And it says, Dawn's wife, who's a Dawn Rudolph card, Dawn's wife is a professional dancer. She wasn't a professional dancer. She was one of the highest paid strippers in the country at the time. She was her burlesque queen and making 3 times what he was making playing Major League Baseball. Okay. So anyway, over the years, that kind of stuck with me, right? I mean, I'm 6. That's going to stick with you. Years later, as a reporter for UPI, I started researching them. Never met them. They both died before I had that chance. He was killed in 68. She died in 92. And the thing was, they banked where they banked was right across the street from my house in the city of San Fernando. They lived about a mile from me all this time. My friends who from high school used to bowl with her. Um, he coached youth baseball 1 year different in a league that I would have played in instead of the one I did play in if it had been a year later. And he coached in that league. So I never met him, but everything kind of comes together, you know. I own part of the estate. I have some rights, and I decided I wanted to do a book. I own tens of thousands of photographs, hundreds and hundreds of love letters, as well as other letters they wrote back and forth to each other. I mean, they kept everything. I mean, and I got just about everything, and including signed checks, which are autographs, right? So I always wanted to do the book. So I did the book. It's a coffee table book. It's called Fan Letters to a Stripper. It's 80 or 90 photographs, candid publicity, you name it. Has some famous people that she took pictures with, and very little text. But it's a coffee table book, and it's a I call it a coffee table biography, and it is a beautiful book. It's a great gift, and what we're doing is. I know you want to get to this later, but while I'll mention it, we're giving a Paddy Wagon T-shirt along when you buy it this holiday season. And I'll point it out a little bit more. Anyway, so then I wrote the screenplay, and we shopped it around, and it wasn't doing anything. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to do a podcast, a dramatic podcast out of this from the screenplay, which I rewrote for audio. We hired about 25 actors. We did a dramatic podcast. It's on my, the links to that are on my site, majorleaguestripper.com. There's a 2.5-hour podcast, one shot, or 12 episodes you can listen to. 1,000 sound bites, 25 actors. It turned out okay. I was happy with it. And then right before we released that, I got a call from a producer in New York who called me, said he ran across Paddy Wagon through another circumstance. He finally saw who she was, saw what he liked, called me and said, let's talk. And we optioned the book and the screenplay. And that's where it sits now. I feverishly have written all 8 one-hour episodes because he wants to do a streamer, 1 season, 8 hours. And so I haven't finished the last chapter, and I'm holding off on that last episode. It's almost complete. I'm just holding off until I see where the rest of everything goes. But it'll be an expensive project, probably close to $40 million. And so it's a big project, a lot of arenas, a lot of ballparks. And she raced motorcycles against guys and won in her younger days. So there's a lot of bikes too. I mean, my producer says, look, you can't beat the combination of the 3 Bs: baseball, bikes, and babes. You can't beat that, right?
Right. No. Oh my gosh. That sounds, I mean, she just sounds like a badass, making 3 times what he was making,
Yeah.
racing bikes. I mean, I'm her biggest fan.
Yeah, in the 50s, you know. And she was a real sweetheart too. She really was. Everybody, guys who I knew from high school who knew her, and like I said, bowled with her in her later years, said she was just the life of the party. She was always just this real sweet woman. And they called her Sweet Patty. So
I love it. Well, it's that time to talk about your holiday special for this holiday
you got it.
season.
All right. What I did just for you, Amy, and this is dead serious, I did just for you and your listeners. I created a special website, and you can see it right above my head, Bob Brill Books -holiday. Forget the word sale. Bob Brill Books -holiday. If you go there, it's live now. You'll see all my promotions for all my books, all 12 books. Some of them we're discounting. Some of them we're given free shipping. Some of them we're given a premium. The one we're given a premium, the Paddy Wagon book, the coffee table book. When you buy it at a discount price, I've lowered the price. But because it's a big book and a heavy book, I have to charge the shipping. I'm sorry, I can't do it. I'm not going to pay you to buy my book, you know. So anyway, you're going to get a Paddy Wagon T-shirt, which has the cover of the book on the front. And if you're a woman and you like to sleep in a large T-shirt, these are perfect. I mean, these are absolutely perfect. And then on top of that, I'm going to give you one of 3 extra premiums, either a Paddy Wagon button, which has our logo on it, a paddy wagon click pen, or a paddy wagon rape whistle. And, it's a small little whistle that it works perfect. If you're ever in trouble, it works perfect. And you can carry it in your purse, and it's a keychain, so you can carry it on your keychain. The other books, I've got free shipping or discounts, and some of them I had to charge shipping with a discount. So, but again, it's bobbrillbooks-holiday.com. Don't go to bobbrillbooks.com because that's my regular website, and that'll have no other promotions on it. So go to bobbrillbooks-holiday.com, and when you go there, it's only going to be there till the end of January. So you have until the last day in January to take advantage of buying any books you want for holidays and have shipped and to as gifts. I'm not doing anything with my the digital books. They're already cheap enough. You can go to Amazon, my Amazon site, and you can buy those if you want. But if you're going to give a gift for the holidays, don't give a digital gift. Give a hardcore book. Give something that they can handle and they can put on their shelf. You can sign it. We can sign it. You can give it. That's the way to go. A digital book, fine. Do that later in the year. But for the holidays, give them a hardcore book.
No, exactly. The best gifts that you can give this holiday season is a book and let people escape from reality or anything that they want. So that's like the jackpot of promotions, Bob. Thank you so much for creating that on page for the 12 days of page turners. I'm so honored.
You're very welcome. And it's limited to the books I have in stock. Some of them, there aren't that many. Some of them, there's a whole bunch. So get on it, and you'll see how many are on there when you go to click on. So please go. I'd appreciate it.
I love it. Well, Bob, thanks for taking time out of your evening to come and hang out with me this evening.
Well, you're very welcome, Amy. I was glad I could do it. And I'm loving the fact that you're doing this for us. And believe me, I know everybody else is too. And, kudos to you and so much success. We love you. We love you. We love you.
Well, thank you. I love you guys as well. Well, coming up next is Kim. Kim, how are you?
I am doing awesome. How are you doing? All ready for the holidays and getting jazzed up about it.
You know it. I got a cup that says don't get your tinsel in a tangle. Okay. It's the holidays. So if you don't have that cup, I don't know what's going on for sure. So I'm excited for it. But tell everybody what genres you write in and the titles of some of your books.
I write in mostly nonfiction. I'm dabbling in fiction, but I haven't had any of that published yet. I'm still dabbling in it and working on it. So it's on the back burner, but I have a couple ideas, but mostly nonfiction. And for the bulk of it, the last several years, I've been coordinating anthologies. So I bring folks together and I put all those stories together in one book and, get those out into the world. Inspirational type stories, motivational type stories. There's a 3-book series called When Grace Found Me last November. Actually, when I was on the 12 days, I was talking about my newest release then. It was When Hope Found Me. And that's pretty much, the last few years, nonfiction. And I'm still kind of rolling along that way. Just had a new release a few months ago called Paw Prints on the Couch. So that kind of took a shift and it went more towards pets and animals. So I was really excited to get that one out into the world.
Oh, I love that. I'm a huge animal lover. I have 2 dogs and a cat. Back in September, I lost one of my black cats that was near and dear to me. So I am a huge just animals. If, having 2 kids and a husband wasn't enough, I needed to have 3 animals, So I love that. So tell us a little bit about how you come about these inspirational stories and how you create these novels.
The newest one with Paw Prints on the Couch, that's something I've wanted to do for quite some time. And you're an animal lover, you just said, and most people I run into are, and you've always got that one that's going to stick with you. No matter how long they may be gone from your lives, they're going to stick with you. They touched your life, your soul in some way. And I wanted to bring that together because I know a lot of people have those same types of feelings and those connections with their animals. So with my own dogs, of course, in the book, I've got one dog that's still with me and then one that has passed away, but he was with me for 14 years and super, super special dog. And I wanted to share a little bit of their stories and also help folks. It's hard. And you just mentioned you lost your cat, and I know how hard that is. It's so hard and it leaves a hole. And I wanted to share those stories of, yes, their pets' lives they're short. They're way too short. But the love and the unconditional love and loyalty that they cram into their short lives and they give to you, they just freely give it to you. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It's such a blessing. So I wanted to gather some of those stories together and to share my own dog stories as well. And I typically have my dogs have all been rescues. And so I wanted to share that aspect too of how you're not only rescuing them, but they're also bringing so much into your own life as well.
Yes, I rescued a puppy I want to say 2 years ago. I'm not 100% sure. A year and a half to 2 years ago. And I was told that it was a Weimerheimen, which is really hard for me to say because I struggle really hard with ours. So the fact that I got that out is like 100% golden for me. But it turns out he's a pit bull Great Pyrenees mix. So he's massive, but he is the biggest baby ever. And I have a wooded space behind my house, and I have a gate that goes back there because my kids like to go on adventures. And this dog goes, and then he doesn't listen and comes back, and he's all covered in stickers, and he's a hot mess of a puppy, and I love him dearly. And I got him from a humane society, and I'm a huge advocate in going and rescuing or going to the humane societies and getting a dog and giving them what a true life in a positive life can kind of be, because a lot of them have been through so much or don't ever get that opportunity. So I love it. I love that you did fun with animals.
I'm going to keep on doing it. I think this way this is the cover of it, paw prints on the couch. And my next one is going to be I'm already working on it, and it's going to be not an anthology. It's going to be pretty much just stories and the adventures from my dog's perspective. And that one's going to be called, and bringing more of the personalities of the dogs out. So the stories will be from the dog's point of view. So I'm having fun working on that one.
Oh, see, so do you find that to be difficult to kind of come at it from the animal's perspective, or is that easier for you because then you can kind of just be creative in what you think they're thinking?
It's actually very easy. It's very easy for me. I have a very active imagination, and a lot of times I look at my dog and I feel like I know what they're thinking. Some of the looks they'll give me, and I'll be like, well, this is what you're thinking, aren't you? So, and I've been writing these little conversations down for years, probably 10, 11 years now. So I have all of this stuff already. I'm just working on putting it together, but yeah, no, it's easy. It's easy. Maybe my brain's a little different, but it's easy for me to come up with what the dog is thinking and saying.
So do you think, I'm curious because it's something I would love. And so do you think that you would ever turn like those stories and how you're coming from it from an animal kind of perception in a sense? Would you ever turn those into like children's books and make it like a children's series on different adventures that your dog kind of took in their point of view from it? Or are you going to stick kind of in an anthology kind of format?
Well, I've thought of it, the children's stories, because there are certain ones that, yes, I can certainly see and envision turning into a children's book and or a series, growing up with a rescue, a puppy and a young one growing up. So yes, I have those ideas, and I've got kind of an outline for a few, but it's going to be, the books are, it's not going to be, the next one won't be an anthology. It's going to be the conversations that I've had with my dog, but my dog was always teaching me something. So there's going to be lessons learned and morals and all of this thing, but it's all coming from the perspective of a dog. Because, and for the main theme is, why are humans so set on the clock? Why do they run their lives by the clock? Why don't you just slow down? Why don't you sniff something, even if it's deer poop, you know? Take some time to sniff something, lay out in the sun, roll around in some dirt, run through a puddle. So those are the little lessons that my dogs are teaching me. And those are the stories that I've shared of they're saying, you know, hey, Mom, why are you always looking at the clock? What's with all the numbers? That's what the dogs say a lot. Why are you always talking about numbers? Who cares about numbers? The sun's shining. So
Yeah. See, I love that, because it's like I had written, okay, this is the one time I have written, because all of you guys know I'm not an author. You guys have received my emails, and you know that my grammar and punctuation is awful. Okay, so I live through you guys. But I wrote a blog post many years ago. It must have been 5-6 years ago. And it was my Chihuahua that I have that was supposed to be a teacup Chihuahua, just to mention it. And he's 20 pounds. Okay. He ain't no teacup. But he stopped and he was smelling like every blade of grass on our walk. And I was so frustrated. I was like, I need to get this walk done because I have a meeting I need to go do and all of this stuff. And then he just wouldn't come when I was sitting there. And I was just like, you have to come, Thor. You need to come. And he kept sitting there and he looked at me and I was like, oh, you know what? Like, let's just sit here and sniff every blade of grass. Right. And so they do legitimately teach you those things. So that's why I had mentioned like the children's book. I think that would be fantastic. I'm excited for all of that in that avenue. But what was that moment for you and all of the, anthologies and books that you have written that you decided to sit down and write or do a collection of anthologies and publish it? What was that moment like for you that kind of inspired you to do that?
for this most recent book, to bring people together, it was the loss of my dog Digger. Now, I'd had him for 14 years, and when it was his time to go, he was tired, and he did his job. He did his job here on Earth, and he did a really, really good job. And when I had to say goodbye to him, it left such a hole in my heart. And I started reading back through all of these conversations that I had written, because I had shared them on Facebook. He had his own Facebook page. He had his own following. And I started pulling those together. And I thought, I'm not the only person that has an amazing pet like this. There's more out there. And wouldn't it be cool to hear their stories too? And so it was Digger. That was his name. Digger inspired me to pull that together, to make these stories come to light, bring them to life. And then I thought, well, it's been 4 years and I have another dog now, another rescue. His name's Dexter. But it was time to do that. And it's kind of a healing thing for me. I was super attached to this dog, and he was very, very in tune with me. And I live with PTSD. And so anxiety creeps in on occasion. And he would be able to catch that before I realized it. So we were very in tune, and he was with me all the time. So it was very hard to say goodbye. So this is a way to, pay homage to him, but then also to all those amazing pets out there who have enriched so many lives, all their human parents' lives. This is kind of, my nod, my tip of the hat to all those beautiful souls, those beautiful animals out there.
I love it. Well, tell everybody what you're offering this holiday season.
This season, okay, so we'll be, upside down, Paw Prints on the Couch. So the print copy on Amazon, I'm going to be offering that at 50% off. So it's going to be just $6.99 for the print copy. and the ebook copy will be 99 cents. So very affordable. Grab a few copies for your friends and your loved ones, and grab a blanket, curl up on the couch with your favorite fur baby, and read some stories. Read some good stories of other amazing animals.
No, absolutely. Well, Ken, thank you so much for taking time out of your evening to come and hang out with us and for offering your holiday special this year.
Oh, thanks for having me. This is always so much fun. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. TD, it's your turn. How are you, TD? Hold on, you're muted.
Sorry, I'm great. How you doing?
Oh, I am doing good. I'm excited to hear what genre you write in the titles of some of your books.
All right. Before we get started, can I just say, when I grow up, I want to be Bob Brill.
I know, right?
Some of those stories
I do too.
Some of those stories he had, and just for the record, Roger Moore is James Bond.
Okay, I like it. We can all agree on Roger Moore. I'm digging it.
So, I actually write in two different genres. I've written a mystery thriller. Its title is Amazing Grace. The one I'm going to talk to you about today is a Western that I've written. It's called The Brand of Brotherhood. It's up here for you to see right there. So that's the one we're going to talk about. But that's my latest one. I've only got two, but like I said, one of these days I'll get to Bob's level and have 12 or 13.
Right? I know. I was talking to someone back in September and they had almost 230 books. I was like, I want to be you when I grow up, Oh my goodness. It was insane. I don't know how they find the time to do that at all. But I'm curious about your Western. I'm newly diving in to Westerns. I have a lot of family members that love Westerns. My husband loves Westerns. So tell us a little bit about your Western.
Absolutely. So, as the title says, Brand of Brotherhood. So you've got two young boys. It starts out with them. They're Colt and Brick Warner. Colt is the older brother. It's basically the story of how they end up getting themselves from Nebraska to Sacramento and then trying to grow up in the American Wild West. It's good that you're excited about Westerns. It's nice to hear that. My biggest comment I get on mine is, I really don't like Westerns, is what I hear from a lot of people. The good news is this one is more of a family drama set in the West is what it is. It's about the two brothers and the trouble they're having growing up. So if you're not 100% fan of Westerns, but you do like family drama, this is for you. So if you're just starting out, that's probably the book you're looking at. For those of you that are hardcore Western fans, it's got everything you need in it. It's going to have your bright, shiny good guy. It's going to have your big, evil bad guy. It's got gunfights. It's got brawls. It's got horses. It's got a little bit of romance. It's got everything you're looking for in a Western book, and it's all right there for you.
Nice. So what made you want to go down the avenue of Westerns? And I encounter that a lot. A lot of people say, oh, I'm not a big fan of Westerns. And so I stopped telling people, and then I would give them, a book that had Western elements and those kinds of things. And they're like, wow, I really like this book. Maybe I do like Westerns, I think it's just the genre title that throws people off. I think they're thinking more like John Wayne movies, which are fabulous movies because I love those.
John Wayne is the man, right? But if you're not into the cowboy hats and the guns, then sometimes they forget that there's other elements that can be there.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's good. What got me into the Westerns, growing up as a kid, the two authors I read the most were Agatha Christie and Louis L'Amour. So when I started wanting to write, I wanted to write books that I wanted to write one for each, see if I could write them. So I wrote my mystery thriller first. It's not 100% like Agatha's. She's the queen of the cozy mysteries. This one's a little more hardcore. It's not quite cozy. And then I sat down and tried to figure out how to write a Western. I couldn't think of a story that I wanted to write that would be a decent one. And then I had a coworker who was telling a story from his family past. And with a little tweaking, I figured it would make a good start to the Western. And so that was the seed of the story. And it planted the seed and started from there. By the time I left that shift that day, I had my two main characters' names. I had basically the kind of outline of the story that I wanted to go, and we were ready to go.
Nice. So is it going to be a series? Is it a standalone? Are you going to keep dabbling in Westerns? Tell me more.
It was written as a one-off, but there's no reason it can't be a series. You know, there's the characters are still young enough at the end of the book that there's plenty of life left for them and they can do a few more. So, you know, if you have that seed that plants another good story for you, then by all means, I can start a second one. I'd love to write another one. You know, Colt Warner is one of my favorite characters that I've written about, so I like him. Kudos to Mac for having extensive character outlines on all of her people. I'm a complete pantser. Half the time, I don't have a character until I need a character in the story. You get to that point where you're like, where are you going to go? Oh, here's someone else that we're going to, so you develop a character from there. So kudos to you and your research. Good job.
I love that. So do you jump around in chapters, or are you kind of, you stay consistent with your storyline and you just add characters as you need to?
It's a straight line. You know, I go from one to the next. And then, like I said, if you get into a corner where you can't figure out how to get out of it and you're going to need that extra character, then that character comes in. You know, you get your guys on the train. They're going from Nebraska to Sacramento. Well, how do they get on the train? Well, I guess I need a train guy here to help them. So they meet one of the men from the Union Pacific themselves, and he helps them get on the plane. A little begrudgingly, but he helps them anyway, thanks to a friend they make who's an ex-gunslinger who takes them under his wing and helps them along. Well,
I love that.
Can't really say ex-gunslinger. Once you are one, you are one.
So what kind of research went into you, or in it, what kind of research did you have to put into it to write this Western? Was it a lot of like labor-intensive research, or what was that process for you?
There was a lot of looking into the Union Pacific itself and when it was completed, where it was running from, you know, the stops along the way. So when I have to stop them in a town, I know which town to stop them in, rather than just make something up and go from there. So there was some research along the way for the Union Pacific. There was some research into the town of Sacramento itself, just so I had an idea of what it was going to be like when they got there. Did you know that Sacramento flooded twice and they actually ended up raising the entire city? Did you know that?
No.
Yeah.
No.
So it flooded twice in its history, and they actually ended up building the entire city up, which you found out when you're doing your research that way. So it was interesting that way. So there was research into that. There was some research into what they'd be traveling across as far as landscape and areas along that. And then there was some research into the Indian tribes that were native to the area at the time. You don't want to throw Cherokee in there if there weren't Cherokee in Northern California at the time, right? So you want to make sure you have your research done that way, so you have your proper guys in where they need to be.
Nice. So since you kind of pop around in genres, right? What's the next one that you're thinking about? Are you sticking in Westerns, or are you going to play in another genre? Kind of what's next or on your radar?
Right now, I've got another one coming along that's in the mystery thriller again. I'm going back to the mystery thriller, and we're gonna start with a new detective and a new story. Going to base this one in California again, and we'll start from there. And that's the journey so far. We're back to a mystery thriller for now.
Nice. See, I'm a huge fan. Psychological thrillers is more kind of where it is. But I am surprised that no one yet wants to do zombies. Come on, you guys. I'll be your main character. I will survive. I promise. I can survive. I promise. Oh, my goodness.
Despite the Star Wars poster you can see over my shoulder there, I'm really not a science fiction guy. I haven't been. Zombies and werewolves and that is 100% my wife's genre. She loves watching that stuff. When she does that, I hit the other room and go watch football or something along those lines.
Okay. So makes sense. So like Bob's never going to touch horror. You're probably not going to dabble in sci-fi.
Probably not.
Okay. I get it. I can understand that, and I can respect that 100%. So when it comes to putting out your books, how long does it take you from start to publication to write and release your books?
Well, I'm going to go based off Brand of Brotherhood. That one took just a little over a year. So from start to finish, from the seed of the idea till publication, it was a little over a year. It was a year and 4 months, I believe, is how long that one took. Uh, the first one, I'm almost ashamed to admit, but the first one took almost 20 years.
Don't be ashamed of that. Hey, everyone starts somewhere, okay? And it was a labor of love.
No, I started writing way back, and life happens. You get married, you have kids, you're trying to get jobs, you're trying to start and go from there, and it gets put on the back burner. And then honestly, it took until I got to a job that just drove me up a wall enough that I said, enough of this. I'm going to sit down and finish writing this book. And then I sat down and finished writing it. From the period that I sat down to actually finish it, and then it got published, was maybe 8 months. So that one went a little faster, but it's got 20 years of backstory behind it. So with the second book, 1 year and 4 months total. We'll see how this third one goes. Maybe I can get it out around the year mark, get it down a little further every time. We'll see how that happens.
Yeah. So has writing just always been a part of your life since you've been working on this book, or, your first book for 20 years? Has it just been something that's always kind of been a part of you, or was it like a new love that you found and then, life happened and that you revisited?
For my adult life, it's been something that I thought I wanted to do. I thought that I would like to write books. I thought I'd like to be an author. You think you've got a voice, and you think people want to hear that voice, so you want to sit down and write it out. As far as the nuances of the craft, I probably don't have all the nuances down yet, but the one thing I'm really confident in is that I can tell a compelling story. I think both books have a compelling story that people will be interested in, that you can read them. They're both relatively short in that once you start reading them, you're going to get through them quick. You can, if you get on a plane from where I live to Toronto, it's about a 4-hour plane ride. You're probably going to have Amazing Grace done during the plane ride. It might take you a little longer for Brand of Brotherhood. That one's a little longer. But they get through them fast, and it's not just because they're short stories. It's because they're enthralling and compelling, and you want to keep going on. So I'm confident in. But yeah, as far as writing goes, it's been something I've wanted to do for my adult life. So I'm pleased that I sat down a couple years ago and started trying it for 100%, and so far it's going pretty well.
Good. Well, welcome to being an author. And the 20 years is, that's not a big deal. I've met several authors that their first novel took anywhere between 15 to 20 years to get out because, that crazy thing called life happens. And, you got to do your day job and all that. And you're just like, man, if I didn't have to do this, I would have finished this book, right? Kind of like
That's
what
right.
you had said. So welcome to being an author. You're here with family. Hugs, okay? Hugs.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, tell everybody what your holiday special is this holiday season.
All right. So my holiday special for the month of December, so the entire month of December, we're going to drop the price on my ebook down to $1.99. So the digital book is going to be $1.99. We're going to drop it there. And we're also going to drop if you go to my publisher's website, so that's endlesskybooks.com, but you're going to need a dash between the endless and the sky and between the sky and the book. All right, so it's endless-sky-books.com. You go there, you're going to be able to get yourself the soft cover version, the printed version of the book, 25% off. We're going to drop it down to 25% off. You're going to use the coupon code Brotherhood. It's easy enough. You're looking for the title. That's what you're looking for. The coupon code is Brotherhood. It's going to get you 25% off the book at endlesskybooks.com. On Amazon itself, you should be able to get the ebook for the $1.99, as I said. You'll probably get the ebook on Endless Sky for $1.99 as well. So we're going to drop the price on both of those for the entire month of December.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. Well, you guys check out the comment section and the copy up ahead. Those have all the links and what everybody's promotions are this evening. But TD, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us and dabbling in your journey.
Thank you. This was fun. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Well, you guys, as promised, I brought you 4 more amazing authors with more holiday promotions because you guys know the best gift that you can give anyone this holiday season is a new book, taking them to a new world, a new adventure, a new crime thriller if you're like me and you need to escape chaos of life, right? One of those things. So make sure that you check out the copy and the comment section to grab and take advantage of all of these authors' promotions. But don't worry because tomorrow night, I have 4 more authors, more incredible holiday specials that you are not going to want to miss. But until then,